Hey everybody, I hope you're doing really well, and I'm really excited to be here to tell you about my plans for 2022 because I think I've finally found a way for us to really connect and sustain that connection and make 2022 a really amazing year to actually build a community of SDE facilitators rather than just run courses. So here's what I'm going to do. So what I've usually done in the past is I've announced a course for a year or 3 months or however long it is, month, and then a particular group of people signs up and does the course, and then they finish the course, and then some of us keep in touch because just most of you are just amazing people, and sometimes I manage to even introduce you to each other across courses, but mostly I don't, and mostly we just sort of try and keep in touch, but it can be difficult. So here's what I've discovered. I've discovered a platform, unfortunately, that doesn't have a free option, but the charge is minimal. So a few of us contributing and we should be able to sustain it without a problem. And how it's going to work is that I'm actually going to run 3 threads of support that run throughout 2022. I'm going to run the SDE facilitation support. I'm going to run horizontal communication support. And I've got a kitty cat helping me here. And I'm going to be running specifically SDE facilitation for PDA, for Pathological Demand Avoidance. All 3 of these are going to run for the full year. And you can choose to do 1 or 2 or all 3. Obviously, you chat to me. I'll make sure it stays affordable for you. But you can also choose on what level you want to engage. So if you wanted, for example, to sign up for the full course, then you would join the mentoring level. And what that would mean is that you would have access to all of the course materials, all of the calls for that particular thread or threads that you've signed up for. You would also have ongoing interaction with everybody else who's at that level in that course. So you could chat asynchronously. The platform allows us to make it really easy to interact in your own time through text. So it's got a function a bit like Facebook, where you can post or we can chat on a forum type thread. And instead of people emailing me questions and then I answer them and sometimes try and put them into the call or forward the emails to everybody, all of it will be happening in that one place where you can click in, see what the course materials are, catch up on the video of the call you missed, see what other people have asked and how you might be able to also chip into the answer, message somebody else privately who's on the same course that you're feeling a connection with, all of that in one place, and it won't go away. It'll just be there for the whole year for you to actually use as a context within which I'll be dropping those course materials and those catch-up calls. However, what about those of you who've already done a course with me and you don't necessarily want to do the whole thing starting from the beginning to the end? What if you want to refresh or you want to actually drop in for certain topics that you see are arising or certain parts of the year? If, for example, you've only done a 3-month course with me before, we're obviously going to be covering a lot more than that going for the full year. So that's where you have a look at the next layer, which instead of the full-on mentorship group would be the facilitators group or the parents group. And there you would have access to everybody who is interacting in that tier, which I'll talk more about in a minute because it's actually everybody in the whole community who can interact in that tier. And then instead of subscribing at a level that you would have access to everything, you would instead get a discounted rate on each of the particular calls that's coming up, each of the particular topics. And then you could pick and choose because you'd have subscribed to the interaction that's a little bit less intense, and you could have a look at your calendar and say, oh yeah, no, I really want to do the screen time week. I really want to do the special needs week. I want to do the sex education week. And then you could actually just book and drop in for those things at a discounted rate. Then the final tier is the free tier. That's for those of you who you're not going to particularly do any courses this year. Maybe if there's one call that comes up, you might want to do it, but you're happy to just pay the public rate to drop in on that one call, a special topic call that wouldn't necessarily be for a closed cohort. It would be one of the more public sort of single topic standalones. But mostly you want to connect and you want to interact and you want that continuity. This tier would be also for people on the extremes. For example, people who've never needed to do one of my courses because they could be teaching it themselves. And on the other hand, people who are coming in curious, they're not sure what this is all about. You know, this was where you could refer, for example, parents at your facility who are new to all of this, or a friend that you want to help get into this, or a partner who hasn't really grasped SDE yet. And they could also enter into that tier there, which is free. There's no charge at all. Obviously, there's not going to be a whole lot of mentoring on time investment from me on that tier because it's just not realistic. But there can be a lot of interaction between everybody and a lot of community building and networking. Now, all three tiers are in the same place, which means while the free people can't get into the mentoring level and can't get into the support community level, they're all there interacting in the free level. Of course, we might sneak some of the experienced people in for free, just for the fun, because it just makes it richer. But you don't necessarily want your complete beginners engaging in that middle tier if they don't really know their way around yet. So that would be private. But the people who are on those more intense tiers have got access to the less intense tiers. So it means that you've got complete community continuity. Because even though you're in a private cohort group that only the mentored people can actually get into, down here, you also have access to the people who've previously done the course or who are doing bits and pieces of the course to network more intensively and troubleshoot with each other and brainstorm with each other here, where we're looking at ongoing facilitation support. And you can also access the people who are there just for community building, browsing and just connection on this tier. So it's an open flow, and you can also swap between the tiers as the year goes on, as you change your mind or your circumstances change. So I'm really excited about this. I have started doing the basic setup of the community. I've now exhausted the free trial. So as soon as we've got enough of you committed, saying, yes, I'm in, and I can see that there's enough of you committed to stay for the year so that I know that I can predict that it's worth investing the next layer of really filling up this platform with lots of content and opportunities, then we can launch it. I'm really hoping to do that before the middle of January. So please let me know as soon as possible if you're interested. You can get an idea of the pricing if you have a look at my Patreon page. It should give you a bit of an idea. And of course, you know, you talk to me because that's how I've always operated. So yeah, then I also want to just mention, for those of you who are just doing the SDE facilitation, that's it. That's all you need to know. And the horizontal communication, likewise, you can sign up for just horizontal communication, and you'll still then have access to the whole of the SDE facilitation community. Then parents and facilitators working with PDA, with pathological demand avoidance. One of the things I love most about this platform is that it allows completely different levels of privacy. So if somebody signs up for just SDE facilitation, even the deepest mentoring level, where they're really in there completely, they can't even see the PDA layers. They're invisible. Only the people who sign up for PDA will be able to see the PDA rooms. And within that as well, for example, the PDA parents room is completely separate to the PDA facilitators room, which means that although some people will be in common for both, for example, you often get a PDA parent who's also a facilitator at a setting. That person might be in both groups. But when you only have, for example, the facilitators at your setting, and then the parents of the children at that setting, they will be in completely separate groups that cannot actually see each other, which makes it very easy to do your troubleshooting and your deep mentoring when you really need to pick somebody's brain or really get some guidance, that there is that private space there. And at the same time, while those rooms are completely private from anyone who is not dealing with PDA or not trying to learn about PDA, it is integrated with the horizontal communication thread and the SDE facilitation thread. So at the same time, you'll be able to access all of the richness, all of the wisdom of those communities that are dealing with the horizontal communication and the general SDE facilitation, while at the same time having the advantage of a completely private contained space that can be really safe enough to open up and get the support that you need for supporting PDA. So just a quick note there, this is specifically for people dealing with self-directed education PDA intersect. There's lots of other places where people can get support just for parenting PDA, for example, or for supporting PDA in other types of education. So what I work with is specifically the SDE4PDA intersect. And that also is going to have its own layers. There'll be the general group, which will be free. It just won't be public. But anybody who is working directly with PDA will be able to contact me, and I'll be able to add them to that free layer where they can just get that community support and give mutual support and community build. Because really, normalizing these things is probably the most valuable thing of all. You know, for both PDA and SDE, it's so easy to feel isolated and judged and like we're the only ones in the world. And just having that community to normalize it and connect is just gold. Then there'll be the next layer, which will be the support group that one can join just for more intensive support, more interaction from me, obviously, and more materials to actually work with it. And then there'll be the mentoring layer, which is seriously signing up to really work on this, do the full course, do all the calls, get the personal advice. And again, you'll be able to move between those layers as your circumstances shift or as your interest or availability shifts. Which also means you could, for example, be on the mentoring level, completely private from someone that you've invited into the free level. And you would have time and heads up to maybe adjust your interaction before you get joined there. So it's just really, it's an amazing platform that offers just so much possibility. And I'm very excited. So please have a look at the Patreon page and see if you feel this is something you want to engage with this year. We can have a couple of thousand people in there, so there's really no limit. I think there's a lot of value to it being small and very personal, but the nice thing about this is it allows for small, personal, interactive spaces within a much bigger community if it does grow fast, which is very, very rich. As you'll see, you can each have your own profile, you can choose who to follow, you can choose to be contactable by other members, you can choose to not be contactable by other members, you can choose where you are visible, where you interact, and there's really a lot of control around how you engage and at what level. So I'm really looking forward to welcoming you into this SDE support community. And I can't wait to see what we co-create. So yeah, head on over, let me know, give me a shout, and let's do it.